You woke up this morning, your throat hurts, your head is pounding, maybe you have a fever. Within an hour, you can swallow a pill. Within a day, you can see a doctor. Within a week, you'll probably be back to normal. Now imagine the same situation, same throat, same fever, same body, but you're not in your apartment. You're standing in a forest 20,000 years ago. There are no pills, no doctors, no hospitals, no antibiotics. You're sick, and you're completely alone with your body. This was the reality for almost every human being who has ever lived. For 300,000 years, your ancestors got sick exactly like you do. The same viruses, the same bacteria, the same coughs, fevers, infections, and broken bones. And somehow, against all odds, they survived. So what did they actually do? The answer is stranger, smarter, and more terrifying than almost anyone realizes. And once you understand it, you'll never look at modern medicine the same way again. Let's start with the basics. For most of human history, getting sick was the deadliest thing that could happen to you. More deadly than predators, more deadly than starvation, more deadly than violence. A single infected cut could kill you in 3 days. A simple fever could spread through your entire tribe in a week. Childbirth, which is now considered routine, was one of the leading causes of death for women throughout almost all of human existence. If your immune system couldn't handle it on its own, you usually died. But here's where it gets fascinating. Ancient humans weren't passive. They didn't just lie down and accept death. They developed an entire system of healing, built up over hundreds of thousands of years, that scientists today are only beginning to understand. The first and most important thing they did was something almost no one expects. They rested. That sounds simple. But to your ancestors, rest wasn't a luxury. It was the most powerful medicine they had. When a member of the tribe got sick, they were given a quiet, dark place. They were brought food and water. They were left alone to sleep. Modern science has confirmed that this was probably the single most effective thing they could have done. During deep sleep, your immune system releases proteins called cytokines that fight infection. Your body temperature rises in controlled bursts to kill pathogens. Your white blood cells multiply at 3 times their normal rate. Ancient humans didn't know any of this, but they knew that sick people who rested survived more often than sick people who didn't. And so, they built rest into their culture. In many ancient societies, illness was sacred. The sick person was treated almost like royalty. They didn't have to hunt, gather, or perform any task. Their only job was to heal. Compare that to today, where most of us drag ourselves into work with the flu, take medicine to suppress symptoms, and keep going until we collapse. Your ancestors would have been horrified. But rest wasn't the only thing they used. Almost every ancient culture on Earth developed a system of plant medicine, and the more researchers study these systems, the more they realize how astonishingly effective they actually were. In the cold regions of Northern Europe, ancient humans chewed willow bark when they had headaches and fevers. Willow bark contains a chemical called salicin. Salicin is the natural origin of aspirin. They had aspirin 20,000 years before pharmacies existed. In the Mediterranean, they used garlic and onion, not just for cooking, but for wounds. Both contain natural antibacterial compounds that we still study today. Wounded warriors in ancient Egypt were treated with raw garlic poultices that, while crude, genuinely reduced infection rates. In ancient China, they used a plant called artemisia for fevers and recurring chills. Today, that same plant produces artemisinin, one of the most important anti-malarial drugs in modern medicine. The World Health Organization considers it essential. In South America, indigenous communities chewed the bark of the cinchona tree. That bark contains quinine, the first effective treatment for malaria the modern world ever discovered. European explorers literally stole this knowledge to save millions of lives back home. These weren't random superstitions. These were carefully tested observations passed down for thousands of years. Healers watched what worked and what killed. They refined their methods over generations. They built up something close to a primitive pharmaceutical industry, hidden inside oral tradition. But here's where the story gets darker. When plants and rest weren't enough, ancient humans turned to far more drastic methods. One of the most disturbing was something called trepanation. Trepanation is the practice of drilling a hole into a living person's skull while they are still conscious. You heard that right. Archaeologists have found human skulls from over 7,000 years ago with neat, perfectly circular holes carved into them. Most surprisingly, many of these skulls show signs of healing, which means the patient survived, sometimes for years. Trepanation was performed for headaches, seizures, head injuries, and what was likely considered demonic possession. Healers believed that by opening the skull, they were releasing pressure or releasing evil spirits trapped inside. Modern neurosurgeons have studied these ancient skulls in detail. What they found stunned them. The procedure was performed with sharp stones and primitive tools, with no anesthesia, no antibiotics, and no concept of germs. And yet the survival rate, based on healed skulls, may have been as high as 40%. 40%. Some of these patients lived for decades afterward. We don't know how they did it. We don't fully understand why it worked. We just know that for thousands of years, across multiple continents, ancient humans performed brain surgery on each other, and many of them walked away. But trepanation was just one tool among many. Ancient healers also performed primitive amputations, set broken bones with splints made of wood and bark, and stitched wounds with thorns and animal sinew. In ancient Egypt, surgical techniques were so advanced that healers performed cataract surgery on the eyes of pharaohs using fine bronze needles. Some of those pharaohs survived, with their vision restored. 25 centuries before anesthesia, 25 centuries before sterilization. Every one of those surgeries was performed while the patient was fully awake. But the most fascinating thing about ancient medicine isn't the techniques. It's the fact that they had something modern medicine often forgets. They had ritual. Every ancient healing tradition wrapped its treatments in ceremony. Songs were sung, fires were lit, specific words were spoken. The sick person was surrounded by their community, and the healer was treated with reverence. The act of being healed was a profound, social, spiritual experience. For a long time, modern doctors dismissed this as superstition. But over the past few decades, an entire field of research has emerged around something called the placebo effect, and what it reveals is extraordinary. When a patient believes deeply that they will be healed, their immune system actually responds. Their pain decreases, their inflammation drops. In some cases, even diseases that are not psychological in nature show measurable improvement. Ancient healers didn't have antibiotics, but they had something almost as powerful. They had belief. They had community. They had the full attention of their tribe focused on the survival of one person. That kind of attention is medicine. Modern hospitals have largely lost it. We treat illness with chemicals and machines, often in isolated fluorescent-lit rooms surrounded by strangers. We are healed faster than ancient humans were. But we are also lonelier when we are sick than any humans who have ever lived. And then there's the strangest part of all. When all of these treatments failed, when herbs didn't work, when rest didn't help, when surgery wasn't possible, ancient humans turned to something else entirely. They turned to other animals. In the savannas of Africa, ancient humans watched the animals around them. They noticed that elephants ate certain leaves when they were sick. The chimpanzees swallowed rough, hairy plants whole when they had parasites. That bears chewed on certain roots after waking from winter. So they tried the same things. A surprising amount of ancient plant medicine appears to have been learned by watching animals self-medicate. Modern scientists have a name for this. It's called zoopharmacognosy. It is now a recognized field of study, and researchers are still discovering medicinal plants by following the lead of wild animals, especially primates. Your ancestors weren't just observers of nature, they were students of it. They saw the natural world as a kind of vast, living pharmacy, and they learned which leaf calmed a stomach, which root reduced fever, and which berry could either cure or kill, depending on the dose. Their knowledge wasn't perfect. Many people still died. Children especially, who had not yet developed strong immune systems, were devastated by diseases we now consider trivial. Average life expectancy was short, not because aging was faster, but because so many people died young from things modern medicine can prevent in a single afternoon. But the survivors, the ones who lived to old age, did so with a depth of understanding about the body that modern humans almost never achieve. They lived inside their bodies. They listened to them. They watched them. They responded to their signals with attention and care. And maybe that's the most important lesson of all. Ancient humans got sick the same way we do, but they treated illness not just as a medical event. They treated it as a sacred one, as a moment that demanded slowness, attention, and community, as a reminder of what it actually means to be human. We have antibiotics now, we have vaccines, we have surgeries that would have looked like magic to your ancestors. But somewhere along the way, we lost the part of healing that didn't come from a pill, the part that came from being held, from being still, from being seen. Your ancestors knew it, and on some level, deep inside the body you inherited from them, you still do too.